This is the CBS Evening News. I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in for Dan Rather. Good evening. After the hard facts of disaster, the hard questions. The hard facts are these. A United Airlines DC-10 with 293 people aboard crashed yesterday while attempting an emergency landing at Sioux City, Iowa. Amazingly, at last count, 184 people survived. And now the hard question. Why did the plane crash? Mark Phillips looked into that.
How a state-of-the-art airplane bound for Chicago became a cartwheeling ball of fire on a Sioux City runway is the mystery NTSB investigators began trying to unravel today. The crash impact footprint spread over an area close to a mile long. Investigators said it was the biggest crash site they'd ever seen. But the site, the radio reports of the pilot, and the recollections of survivors have already begun to yield clues.
Air Traffic Control Center in Minneapolis was told that by this flight that they had lost their number 2 engine.
The plane was at cruising altitude when its number 2 engine, the tail engine, blew. Parts of it were found in a farmer's field miles away.
45 minutes before we crashed, the engine blew. There was an explosion, literally an explosion.
After he regained control of the aircraft, pilot A.C. Haynes then radioed his problems were getting worse.
Shortly later, after 3:17, they were told that they had lost their hydraulics.
The DC-10 has 3 separate hydraulic systems running off its engines. The systems are supposed to be independent to protect against complete loss of control. But the plumbing for those systems is interconnected at various places on the plane, particularly in the tail section. The violent explosion of the tail engine could well have severed all the hydraulic lines in that area.
And my only explanation to complete hydraulic system failure is that when number 2 exploded, it did in some way pierce the protective casing and severed the interconnecting hydraulic lines.
Investigators have found 3 engines at the crash site, and with them have found another clue.
We have one engine that is missing the fan section of the engine.
The type of engine used in this DC-10, a General Electric model, has had some problems in the past with partial disintegration of its fan section. At Purdue University today, a flight simulator was used to see if a jetliner could be flown with the complete hydraulic failure that was reported on the United flight. 4 out of 5 times, the simulator crashed.
I don't think that anybody has ever tried to land a DC-10 before without any hydraulic systems. Nobody's ever done that. There are no procedures for it.
This afternoon, the flight recorder boxes arrived in good shape in Washington, where they'll be examined. With the inquiry only in its preliminary stages, investigators say there is no cause and there are no plans to ground the entire DC-10 fleet. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Sioux City.
A disaster like the crash of United Flight 232 produces its heroes. Sioux City, Iowa, a city of 82,000, seemed rich in heroes after this crash. There were vacationing, off-duty, and former employees at the city's 2 hospitals who returned to work, so that at times there were 2 doctors for every injured passenger. There were the people who formed a line a block and a half long to donate blood, so the supply was triple what was needed. There were hospitals in Sioux Falls and Omaha which donated so many medical supplies that one of the hospitals in Sioux City said it received 5 months' inventory in 3 hours. There were students at Briarcliff College who acted just like family for travelers who spent the night at the school. After the crash, there were stories of violent death and of incredible survival. Frank Courier begins our reports.
In a grim sweep through mud and field corn, an inch at a time, National Guard troops today searched for more bodies, crash victims still unaccounted for at the Sioux City disaster site.
The wreckage is bad, and I think we can be deeply thankful that those that survived did survive.
Crash investigators, witnesses, and survivors today are calling it a miracle. How a jumbo jet packed with nearly 300 people can crash land in a ball of flame, and more than half live to tell about it.
When you're flying at a steady speed and all of a sudden feel like you hit a brick wall, it's exactly what it felt like.
I could just feel myself rolling and rolling. It was terrible.
Some are attributing Flight 232's survival rate in part to clear weather, soft rain-swollen ground, and the airport's high state of readiness.
We've practiced, we've drilled, we work together, we coordinate together.
United Airlines, whose chairman today viewed the crash site, was quick to applaud the veteran pilot, Al Haynes.
His performance obviously was extraordinary. He's a 33-year veteran of United, obviously a very, very experienced pilot.
Others say it was fate, the way the jet flipped and skidded end over end, protecting the cockpit, the aft cabin, and 11 rows in the center of the fuselage. These were people who simply walked away.
Rows 9 through 19 were the people with no injury or only minor injuries, because that structure was intact around them.
It's a phenomenal thing that this many people survived it.
While many today rejoiced the phenomenal luck of those who survived Flight 232, others saw only the horror of an aviation disaster and reflected on the tragedy of so many lives lost in an Iowa cornfield. Frank Courier, CBS News, Sioux City.
I didn't look back. I just kept telling everybody to run. I didn't turn around
and then we ran down a road.
The survivors who stayed overnight in a dormitory at Briarcliff College couldn't stop talking about it. The crash, their escape, their incredible good fortune.
Never honestly thought it was the end.
They talked about their fear as if talking about it would make the images go away.
I thought we were going to crash, and we did.
But again and again, the joy.
Oh, man. I'm surprised I'm alive.
So miraculous how so many of us made it.
Ellen Badiz was sitting with 2.5-year-old Aaron. Her husband Adrian and 6-year-old Eric were 14 rows ahead, but they all got out. And now Adrian and Eric are patients at the Marion Health Center.
She talked about the crash a whole lot last night. He had a hard time sleeping. And I thought my wife and his brother died. Because, you just look at this devastation and say, how can anybody leave through that?
Miracle. That's the survivor's word. The Michelsons made it through, and so did 1-year-old Sabrina, who for a while was lost.
To me, and on impact, she was just wrenched completely from my arms, and I didn't know where she was, sucked out the window or in debris or what.
Sabrina was on the floor between the seats. Another survivor picked her up.
That everybody's there and everybody's walking and nobody had any bruises to speak of, or just a miracle at that point.
They stand in the windows, these survivors, looking out over a countryside so peaceful that one could hardly imagine a disaster here. But it did happen, and these men and women and children will never forget it.
I'm not sure that I want to go to sleep yet. I'm not sure that I want to be alone yet. Because there's stuff that happened that I don't really want to think about.
But he is thinking about it. They all are. Betsy Aaron, CBS News, Sioux City, Iowa.